All right. If you guys can hear any noise in the background, it's that shit over there. That's you guys right here. It's that shit over there. It's just like the air conditioning and stuff. Can't do nothing about it because it's hot as hell. So it is what it is. Hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, we are back in the original setup. Kinda. I didn't feel like standing because I know this is gonna be a long one. Ugh. So I took a little bit of a hiatus from the transfer series just out of me being lazy, honestly. And so there's quite a lot for us to catch up on. You guys should kind of know the gist of what the series is about by now, hopefully. We're just reviewing all the latest and greatest transfer news, and I'm giving my reaction to it. And we're going to start with the biggest player over all of the transfer windows of recent memory. It's Kylian Mbappe, of course. And the latest news is that he has been removed from the undesirable squad and put back into the first team. In my opinion, it's probably because of that absolutely god awful performance that they put up against Lorient something. I don't speak French. But yeah, the attack was looking pretty rough in their first match of the season, and it seems like maybe there's some positive momentum going as far as PSG being able to get him to sign some sort of contract extension. I don't really know, but it's looking like that's moving in a positive direction, and Mbappe is probably going to be a PSG player for at least this season. And I'm so sick of talking about it. So can you guys just make up your mind, please? Because damn, this has been drawn out. Another one of the biggest names in world football, Harold Jebediah Kane, has finally made his move away from Tottenham Hotspur after all these years to Bayern Munich. Very, very odd. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the move that we were always kind of waiting for. If it was going to be international, we always kind of felt like it was going to be Real Madrid. Maybe we're just used to seeing him playing white, but I don't know. It felt like his sights were just a bit higher than what Bayern Munich are really able to offer. No disrespect to Bayern, but it's like the top of kind of the second tier of elite clubs in Europe at the moment. Like they definitely have a great history, but it's just a bit of an odd spot for an English player to end up, maybe just because there's not that much precedent for it. That's why I feel a little bit weird about it. But I do just want to go ahead and say this about Kane before anything else. This guy is genuinely probably the best striker I've ever seen in the Premier League since I started watching football in the early 2010s. I mean, the only names that even come close is that amazing season that Suarez had with Liverpool, which he gets docked points for racism because that's a big no-no. And then shout out to Evra, man. I ride with you, bro. And I guess the only other name that even kind of comes into that conversation would be Aguero. And don't get me wrong, I got a lot of respect for Aguero despite all of the trauma that he has personally caused me. But I don't know, man. Kane was just that guy, man. An absolutely complete forward. Like, there's nothing in the final third that this guy couldn't do. Unbelievable finishing, the positioning, the playmaking. He just gets football, man. Like, he's such a smart, talented, technically gifted player. And I guess, like, my final kind of thoughts on this whole transfer as a whole is I really think in order for his legacy to be solidified as an all-time great, to be in the top tier of strikers in the pantheon of football history, he's got to win a Champions League, bro. Like I don't want to be that guy and just boil it down to something that's simple, but if he doesn't win at least one major trophy throughout his entire professional career, it's gonna be tough to look back on that. You know what I mean? And just for him personally, I would really love to see him win because the reason I'm not saying the Bundesliga is, let's be real, they're gonna win that regardless, and no one is gonna really give a shit that Harry Kane won the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. You know, this guy's doing some Kevin Durant shit if you follow American sports, but it's just I don't know. It's not something that's gonna garner him that much respect. He really needs to do it in Europe at the biggest stage, and I don't know. I hope he does. I personally hope he gets it done. So this next big one is a bummer. We're gonna talk about some of the Saudi transfers and starting it off. Come on, who else could I talk about here? If you watch my recent La Liga video, then you already kind of know a bit of brief background that I'm a huge Neymar fan, and seeing him go to the Saudi league at only 31 years old, God, That fucking sucks. That sucks. He had such a brilliant start to his career at Barca, and honestly, he should have won at least one Ballon d'Or with the amount of talent that he had. And honestly, it's a damn shame that that PSG transfer went the way it did, because that was a chance for him to have his own team and really build his own thing. And then Mbappe happened, and the timing of his career was just so poor. Like, he ended up in the shadows of players that were just better, as much as it sucks to say. And fuck, like the injury problems, man, it is rough. I haven't done the math yet, but in the edit you'll see it flashed up on the screen. I'm trying to figure out how much it actually cost PSG per appearance, because the transfer fee was ridiculous. And then I saw on Twitter he only played like around, what, 160 games or something. That's that's terrible. That is terrible business. I mean, it doesn't matter for PSG. They've got endless money to burn, but damn, man, that sucks. From a footballing perspective, from a fan, it just never gave you those moments that you wanted to. And ultimately, that's just kind of his legacy, you know? It's that almost player, you know? It's a damn shame. But God, I love Neymar. I wish things could have been different. I wish we could have seen him fully unlock that potential that we knew he had. But it's a bummer. It's a bummer. A sad end to a truly unfortunate and unlucky career. And there's been a lot of players heading to the Saudi League since the last time I covered the previous transfers video. I'm just run through some of those guys right now, because it really is a lot. We've got Kessié, Henderson, Fabinho, St. Maximin, Mahrez, Malcolm. If any of you guys remember that guy, that shout out to you. Musa Dembele, Alex Telles, Merid Demiral, Alexander Mitrovic, Roger Ibanez from Roma. Really solid young center back. I'm surprised to see him head over there. Sekou Fofana, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. That stings a little bit, because damn, his ceiling was higher. Never leaving Lazio and then just go oof. And then, of course, the biggest name that we've seen head over there besides Neymar recently is Sadio Mane. And when you list off all those names back to back, it actually sounds like they're like really cooking over there. Like the Saudi Pro League is really becoming competitive. But when you really scroll through the teams and like look at the actual team sheets of everyone, like there's maybe two or three like okay teams in the league, but they've done a good job of spreading out the stars and stuff. But what that means is that no one team is actually that good, to be honest with you. So all these comments about, Al Nasir, Al Ali could play in the Europa League or Champions League, like absolutely not. You don't know football. It's just that simple. There's definitely a lot of work to be done if they want to actually be seen as one of those top leagues, as Ronaldo and so many others have recently been saying. And just because I need to drop this in there so I don't feel like a shitty person, I did make a video covering all of the other stuff going on with the Saudi Pro League. And so if you want some of that extra context and extra information, that video will get flashed on screen somewhere, hopefully, if I remember. And yeah, I just think it's important to say, because I genuinely hate talking about these transfers without at least putting some sort of that context in there. So there's that. Now let's move into everyone's other favorite money laundering league, the Premier League. And I mean, damn, we have to start with Chelsea, because since I made my most recent transfer video, they've just been going crazy, man. Like, they're on a spending spree. Moises Caicedo, that's the biggest name that's on everyone's mind right now. The guy, I mean, whew. I talked about him earlier in the transfer series, and I did say that I think it would be a really good move for Chelsea to bring him in. I think he's a great replacement for a guy like Conte and adds a lot of stability to that midfield. I still believe all those things, but damn, that price makes it a little bit more of an ugly transfer. And unfortunately, it sets the bar higher for Moises himself. And, he's going to be under that microscope now. And it sucks, man, for him as a player, that he's going to have to be held to that standard when it's not really his fault. That being said, all the money stuff aside, him and Enzo are going to be a really fun midfield partnership to kind of watch blossom and develop. And then you add in the likes of Carne Chukwuemeka and a couple other guys that we're going to be talking about later, and you got a really interesting setup for a potential midfield. I just, you know, let's keep talking. Let's keep talking. Next up, we're going to be looking at Leslie Ugochukwu. And first of all, don't you guys just love it when you sign a player on career mode or something and then that player goes on to get signed by a big club in real life? I feel so smart right now. But anyways, I think Leslie Ugochukwu is a fantastic defensive midfielder. He's got great athleticism, great reading of the game, especially for someone of his age, coming out of that Rennes talent factory over there in France. And yeah, I think he's a really solid signing. Unfortunately, just profiles really similar to Moises and another player that we're about to talk about, to where I'm not too sure where the minutes are going to be going. But again, let's keep looking at this stuff, because now we've got Lavia. Romeo Lavia, I think? I don't have his last name. Give me a second. Romeo Lavia. One of Lavia. You guys know the guy I'm talking about. So this guy is, I just saw the here we go confirmation from Fabrizio that he's also going to be joining up with Chelsea. And wow, I feel like any one of those guys would have been a great signing. Getting another one for depth and to help, have some competition in the team is great. Three players that all profile basically the exact same, very similar age profile. I don't know how to feel about this. And it sucks because I'm a fan of all three of these players to varying degrees. And I feel like it's going to kind of hold back their development in a way. Now, you know, it's going to force somebody to hopefully kind of step up and make that position their own. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this whole Chelsea talent hoarding situation. And there's more. There's still somehow more. So this next guy is Michael Olise, and this is one that really is tough for me because I'm a huge fan of this guy. Like, I've been watching this guy since he was playing at Reading, linking up with Avi Ejaria in like 2020, 2021. Like, man, this guy's a serious, serious talent. And honestly, I was so gassed for him when he got his move to Palace, getting into the Premier League at such a young age. And he really adapted very well. Like, he showed that he was able to hang with the big boys, hang in the big league on a Palace team that was pretty average at best, to be honest. And so I think that him getting that move to Chelsea on paper, I should be thinking, good for him. It's the right step forward. He's at a big club at such a young age. This is amazing. But those winger spots are so clogged. Like, where are his minutes coming from? They just spent all this money on Mudryk last season, and all they've got a stacked roster of talent, but there's only so many minutes. And so I'm really curious to see how the development and just that dressing room environment shakes out over the course of the season at Chelsea, because you've got a lot of young, hungry guys all fighting for the same spots. And particularly with Olise, just because I'm personally such a fan of his, I really hope that this doesn't have a negative impact on his development, because he's too good for that. Now, there really is a lot of Premier League transfers, so I'm going to try to start flying through these a bit quicker, but there really is a lot to talk about. This is almost damn near going to be more of a podcast if you guys haven't already kind of noticed by the runtime. So get comfy, grab a snack. Next up, I'm going to be taking a look at Josko Gvardiol, which, this sucks. This fucking sucks. They already had the best defense in the league, the least goals conceded, won the treble, so depth wasn't an issue. Like, they're they're so good. They're so good already. And then what do? They go out and sign the best young defender on the planet. Ball playing ability, reading of the game, one-on-one defending. The guy is cracked. And he's joining Manchester City, so what does that tell you? He's probably going to do pretty damn good. I hate it. It sucks. Ay, ay, ay. Now, this next one is super strange. Super strange. We're looking at David Raya heading to Arsenal now. I've gone back and forth with this one. I've kind of done the full loop of emotions with it. At first, I was super just like, why? You already got Ramsdale. I personally don't really rate Ramsdale as a keeper. I think he's too injury prone. Injury prone. I feel like he's too mistake prone, but at the same time, Arsenal fans don't seem to mind him. He definitely got the job done for Arteta last season, so replacing the goalkeeper just kind of felt weird. I did hear, I forget where, but that Raya had worked with like one of the goalkeeping coaches or something at Arsenal. Basically, that the club has admired Raya for a while, and they've respected his talent, and so in that sense, it makes sense as like kind of a long-term target. Once I heard that, realized that they had really put a lot of thought into it and really highly rated this guy, I honestly started to come around on it in the sense of either Raya is going to come in there and take that spot and make it his own and further, help the progression and development of this Arsenal team, or it's going to push Ramsdale even further and he's going to step up and hopefully, for the sake of Arsenal fans, one of the two of these guys is going to, over the course of the next season or two, really assert themselves as the number one keeper for Arsenal for the future. And the other will have to just kind of figure out what they're going to do from there. But, this is definitely a signing that puts some pressure on Ramsdale, but I think that's a good thing. Ultimately, that's where I've landed, is that this is a this is healthy competition rather than maybe some of the excessive competition we've seen in other parts of London. Next up, we got Alex Scott. And this guy, I mean, whew, what a talent. This guy absolutely ripped up the championship last season with Bristol, showing all sorts of technical ability, great reading of the game, and just a really, really bright young midfielder that I'm really excited to watch his development. And Bournemouth, of all clubs, managed to snap him up. And it was for only 23 million euros. I mean, that's a really, really solid signing for Bournemouth. And even if things don't necessarily go according to plan, because of how young he is, they should be able to resell him on worst case scenario and basically break even on it. So I feel like that's overall really smart business, if anything. Now he is gonna have a couple of questions to answer, I think, coming into the Premier League. He's not a big guy, he's not super fast, so can't he adapt to the physicality and the speed of the game and the technical precision that's required to thrive at this high of a level? We don't know yet, but I do think he kind of has the makings of a little bit of a Jack Grealish kind of player coming up from the Champions League and just having such elite creative ability and just overall understanding of the game to where he is able to thrive even without those standout physical attributes. Now, that being said, it could very easily also go more in the route of like a Todd Cantwell kind of a player where in the championship the guy looks amazing and then once it comes to the Premier League it's just not quite on that same level of quality. This is one that is definitely kind of up in the air for me still, but overall, great business, very talented and exciting young player, and I'm excited to watch him. It's definitely at least a fun player for Bournemouth to get, and yeah, I think overall, very, very good business. Very good business. Now, from one wonder kid to a former wonder kid, that man right here, he's still right here, man, to Heath Chong. I wanted this guy to be a world beater, man. When him and Angel Gomez were coming up in the Man United Youth Academy, nobody could tell me that these guys weren't going to come in and help lift our 21st league title at Man United, man. Like, the freaking got a cool ass afro, cool ass name, super techie, man. Like, it just, I wanted it to work so bad. I really, really did. But, you know, things don't always work out like that in life. And so he's kind of had to grind his way back up into the Premier League and he's found himself at Luton, which honestly, I'm not too sure how to feel about that. It's going to be tough for him to make a genuine impact in a team that I think is going to struggle a lot, unfortunately, in the Premier League this season. Now, that being said, this is a huge opportunity for him because he's back in the Premier League. And so, as an individual, if he's able to put up consistent numbers and perform at a high level, I definitely think he'll stay in the Premier League regardless of if Luton make the drop or not. So, this is his chance to kind of audition to the other 19 teams in the Premier League and, let them know that if they want a talented young winger that he might be the guy for them, and it's a little nerve-wracking because it kind of feels like this is his last chance to make a mark at this high of a level. So I hope he really takes it, and capitalizes. Now moving on to another kind of failed wonder kid that I wanted some more from back in the day. We're going to be taking a look at Nicolo Zaniolo. Not Italian, so that pronunciation might be trash. Also, the air conditioning thing just turned on again, so if you hear that, I apologize. You know what really fucking sucks is because I'm in the garage, it's just still hot as hell in here, so I'm getting all sweaty having to listen to the air conditioning cool off the rest of the house that is actually sleeping right now because it's 2:09 in the morning and I'm a sick fuck that likes to record at all sorts of ridiculous hours, which means I ended up out here in the hot summer heat of Southern California. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Zaniolo. The hype around this guy was so. He really was a hot prospect back in Roma. It's hard to explain just how hyped up he was if you weren't back around at the time because it was pretty short lived. But for a few months there, like maybe a year or so, but for a while, he was looking like the next big thing in Italian football. And then just the most unlucky guy on the planet, man. Just injuries after injuries. It was unbelievable. And so he finally kind of worked his way back up, went out to Turkey and Galatasaray. I'll be honest, I did not really follow how things went out there. But I'm assuming he did pretty well because he's made his way back to Aston Villa in the Premier League, which for a player who's been through as much adversity as he had to face at a young age, going through the ridiculous highs and lows of being a hyped up prospect to, all out in Turkey for fuck's sakes. it's a it's a big opportunity for him as well, as I said with Chong, to like reestablish himself at this level and show the world that he has what it takes to play at the top level of Premier League football. And just personally, after watching the guy go through so many injuries and stuff, how can you not be rooting for him, man? Come on, man. Zaniolo, you gotta give us something, man. Give us something to root for. We're behind you, buddy. Finally, some stuff that can just make me happy. Just some good old-fashioned, good-ass transfers to the team that I like. Don't you love to see it? Oh, nah. What's his name? Come on. You already know. I mean, there's almost nothing I need to say. What a phenomenal signing. It is so rare that Manchester United get it right in the transfer window, and that we hit the ball out of the damn park with this guy, man. Age profile is great, didn't get taxed on the price. It was a huge position of need. The player tactically profile fits into exactly what the coach is looking for. Even has a prior relationship with him. I mean, God, it is just ticks every box. Andre Onana, welcome to Manchester United. I think he's going to do absolutely amazing. Simple as that. Now, into another Man United signing that I'm a little more trepidatious with, but still very excited for, is Rasmus Højlund, which definitely pronouncing that wrong. I saw all the videos of him teaching us how to pronounce it. I'm not Danish, dude. I'm sorry. But the kid has absolute bags of potential. Like, he is so good. So good. The raw athleticism that he has alone at his size, being able to run that fast, is ridiculous. And then you factor in the fact that he's got such great technical ability with the ball at his feet, something that you very rarely see of players at that size and stature. Like, it is just something impressive to watch, and the dynamics that he's going to add to this attack, it is so important that we got a striker in the door, and especially someone like this who really offers a lot of different options. I think it's exactly what Ten Hag needed, and I really do hope that he succeeds. The thing that holds him back, and the reason why those ridiculous ass comparisons with Haaland are so stupid, is because Haaland is a world-class finisher, like the pinnacle of finishing in football at the moment, probably the best I've ever seen. Højlund is a decent finisher. He's much more average as a finisher in front of goal. And so that means he's able to get into these positions, but the turnaround isn't the greatest. He did underperform his XG last season by like 1.5 goals, somewhere around there, which it's not great. It's not ideal, especially for someone who only put up around 1,800 minutes. So it's something to monitor and something to keep our eye on, but I wouldn't necessarily expect this guy to come in and be scoring 20 league goals a season. At least not yet. His development curve, I don't think is finished. He's still a very young player, and it's a lot to throw at him. So that's another thing that we're going to have to see, is how does he adapt to the lights and the pressure of being a freaking Manchester United player. It's a big deal. So hopefully he's able to figure that all out. But the raw talent that's there, come on, this guy's definitely got something. So it's just a matter of if we're able to bring it out of him. And so far, Ten Hag's track record gives me confidence. So welcome to Manchester United, Rasmus, and I hope you do phenomenal, man. A final Premier League transfer that I wanted to cover that happened recently, I probably would have talked about it regardless, but after the performance this guy put up most recently at the weekend, we have to talk about it, and that's Mateus Cunha because he made my team look absolutely ridiculous. That, or maybe we made him look absolutely brilliant, but one of the two, I don't, probably somewhere in the middle. Let me explain. This guy's dribbling, decision making, just the way that he's able to attack space in the final third and even into midfield, it's so impressive, man. Like, he moves so gracefully with the ball, excellent in one-on-one situations, and like I said, the decision making in the final third is he's a top level player. It's just that he is more of a creator. That's what we saw at the weekend, and that's what the stats kind of show as well. He's not necessarily a finisher, a goal scorer. And so, like, honestly, I wish that we could open up a time machine and pull a prime Raul Jimenez out of there and link those two guys up together, because that would be absolutely special to watch. But yeah, I feel like the signings for Wolves maybe aren't complete to have this be a really fully functioning high goal scoring team, but they're definitely adding pieces, and season on season I feel like that attack is starting to kind of, I don't, it's starting to come along a bit more from the era of Nuno and very defensive and pragmatic football. It feels like they're kind of blossoming into a more transitional, high energy type of a team. And Mateus Cunha is absolutely a huge part of that. Super, super top level player. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a little tour around Europe and look at some of the signings that have happened in some of the other leagues around Europe. There is not as much, obviously, as what's going to be in the Premier League with the way that the money works right now, but there's still some very cool, fun signings to take a look at. Starting off with, I told you, I told you. Let's take a trip over to France, holler at our boy, Iliman Ndiaye, friend of the channel. Not really, I wish, but I did cover this guy previously in the Wonder Kids series, talking about these young players to watch throughout the summer, and he's another one that went ahead and got a move, and it's a really, really smart one in my opinion, to Marseille, where he's going to a club with so much history and like so much cultural significance in France, that I think he has a chance to kind of become like a cult hero out there. And then on top of that, Dimitri Payet just left, and so you've got this huge like need for creativity in the final third, and that's exactly what Ndiaye provides. I mean, I think it's a really great transfer on and off the pitch, and I think it should really build up his profile, and hopefully, if things go well, we see him continue that development on forward in his career. But for now, I think this is a perfect fit for him, and I think he's going to blossom in Marseille. This is definitely one of the just one of these signings, one of those. I like that. And oh my God. I have to give a standing ovation. I have to give a standing ovation to Stade Rennes because, oh my God, that is the first team I'm doing a career mode with on the next FIFA. Abso-fucking-lutely. Enzo Lefebvre. We've talked about this guy as well in the Wonder Kids video, and he's genuinely one of my favorite young prospects in Europe right now. Technical ability out the ass, hard worker, just a brilliant, brilliant midfielder. And somehow Rennes were the team that snapped them up from Lorient, which just absolutely great business from Rennes. And I could damn near shed tears right now to report to you guys that he is going to be linking up with another one of our star wonder kids, one of my favorite young players in the world, Desiree Doué. I mean, God, I fucking love Rennes so much. Rennes is awesome. Please try to watch some Rennes this season. Watch a couple Stade Rennes games because they're going to be super, super fun. And these guys aren't going to be there for long. These guys are going to be moving along just as Ugochukwu did last season or this most recent summer, I mean. It's just adding more creativity and energy deeper in that midfield. It unlocks those brilliant attacking players that they have even more, and just Enzo Lefebvre, chef's kiss. I love it. I love it. PSG even got in on the act in France of bringing in some cool wonder kids. They brought in Kengan Lee from Mallorca, which I'm a big time sucker for South Korean wonder kids. It's just those obscure nations. I love it. It's always fun. And the guy's left foot actually has some sort of crack cocaine in there. It is absolutely ridiculous. He is a serious, serious player. and also probably the happiest person on earth that Neymar is leaving PSG, to be honest. I guess I'm just not too sure where the minutes are going to come from because they've made a couple other signings in his position recently this summer, one of which we covered in another video, Marco Asensio, and another one I'm about to cover right now, Ousmane Dembele. Now this one, I I'm excited. I'm excited. Now, the reason why there's a bit of hesitation is honestly, I feel like the way that things ended at Barca and all of that is just really unfortunate, and all of the drama and just kind of bullshit that surrounded his career for the last couple of years has really sucked. And then on top of that, these injury problems that he hasn't really been able to shake off. It's a really tough situation, but I am such a fan of Ousmane Dembele. When he is fit, this guy is such a brilliant player to watch, man. Like, the creativity is off the charts. And hopefully, if he's able to stay fit and get back to that player that we know he is, watching him linking up with Mbappe is going to be something special to watch. It's going to potentially be a more functioning version of what we wanted the Neymar Mbappe tandem to be. Now, this is all depending on Dembele staying fit, which who knows? The guy does not really tend to do that, but if he's able to stay fit, God, that's a smart signing and a really fun one potentially. So I hope he does well because I like aesthetics and the guy is an aesthetically pleasing baller. Now, that being said, PSG don't necessarily have the greatest history with injury riddled wonder kids, as we may have covered earlier. And they've been busy in Paris since my last video, kind of wrapping things up. They've made a lot of moves for sure. They've had their high profile departures, Neymar and Messi and stuff leaving the club. And while the names they're bringing in aren't direct replacements or even big flashy names in the same way, I think it's really smart signings that are going to add to the defensive solidity of that team. And I'm most specifically talking about Lucas Hernandez, Milan Skriniar, and Manuel Ugarte. Adding in players like that is the type of stuff that can actually turn PSG into a genuinely functioning team with some sort of structure, something that could really help push them forward in Europe. And so, yeah, I'm bullish on these signings, and I actually think that this version of PSG is going to be pretty significantly better than the Messi, Neymar, Mbappe shit that we've been watching, because that was a mess. Now let's fly over to Italy, where honestly, there has not been too much happening. The financial situation for a lot of clubs over there is tough, and there's actually only one signing that's happened recently in the entirety of Serie A that I feel the need to cover, and that's because he's one of my favorite players for the U.S. men's national team. Arguably my favorite, to be honest, Yunus Musa. Now, with the loss of Tonali, I think that Musa is a huge signing for Milan because they were going to miss out on that ball progression. That was one of the biggest things that Tonali added to that team. And boom, you got it right there with Yunus Musa. That is his bread and butter, is getting the ball from over there to over there, if that's where you need it to go. He is a brilliant ball progressor, great one-on-one dribbling situations, pretty solid passing vision and passing range. That's probably the spot he needs to improve on the most to really become a top level midfielder. Being in a Milan team with so many interesting other young creative players, like of course his teammate Pulisic, Chukwueze, like I think this could end up being a move that helps bring out another level of Musa, and hopefully that development continues. And they're definitely trying to sucker in some US fans to buying into it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna believe the hype yet, but I'm gonna pay attention. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Now let's skip on over to Germany, where there actually has been a pretty decent amount of fun signings recently, which there just always seems to be these smart, cool young players heading over there. Like, it just always seems to make sense with the Bundesliga, and I love them for that. And we're starting with one of the best run clubs and overall club systems recently in Europe, and that has been the Red Bull system, and specifically Red Bull Leipzig. I mean, they have really come out of nowhere in the last decade and really turned shit up. And it's because of these intelligent signings like these that I'm about to list off, starting with my favorite signing, I guess, that they've made this summer, which is technically a loan, Javi Simmons. Man, this guy is such an interesting young player and has had such a turbulent career for someone who's only 20. It's kind of wild to think that he's still that young. And I actually think his career mirrors Martin Odegaard in a lot of ways. So you got these guys that at such a ridiculously young age, too young to be honest, had all of this hype thrown at them because they moved academies in a time when it wasn't quite as common to see high profile youth academy players switching over in their academy development still. Like, that was kind of new at the time. We weren't really used to seeing that type of shit. And so Odegaard and Simmons, these guys like that were superstars by the time they were teenagers. You know, they were being posted by football pages all the time, and it was just too much pressure to put on these kids at too young of an age. And both of them in their careers have had to go out on multiple loan moves and kind of work their way through lower level leagues to prove their talent. And at every step of the way, Odegaard did that, and now we see that he is one of the best attacking midfielders on the planet right now. And I think that hopefully, if everything goes well, we're on that same arc with Javi Simmons, and this is a transfer that, or a loan more specifically, that is going to absolutely push him in that direction, in my opinion. I mean, just look at the record of player development that Red Bull has recently. I mean, it is genuinely fucking remarkable how they've been able to develop their players over there. It's amazing. And Simmons going into that data led environment, it's perfect for him, man. Like, he's going to fit in beautifully, helps to replace some of that, you know, free roaming creativity that they will have lost with Nkunku leaving. And yeah, overall, great loan move. I really like Javi Simmons and I want him to do well. That's basically it. And again, in an effort to replace a lot of the productivity that they lost in Nkunku, which, let's be real, it is basically an impossible task. The guy is remarkable, but they needed to replace those goals, and so they went and got Lois Openda. And this guy had a ridiculous season at Lens in Liga last season, and I mean ridiculous. Like, he was finishing at a ridiculous clip. Count how many times I said ridiculous. He was pretty heavily overperforming his XGs. It is 2:29 in the morning. He was pretty heavily overperforming his XG last season, which is one of those things that could go one of two ways. Like, he's either a genuinely world class finisher or he was just hot for a season. And so that's where we're going to be kind of left to see with Openda is that finishing legit, or you know, we'll see. That being said, this is definitely the type of environment that he could thrive in. You know, it's a high energy, high pace system. He's going to be getting to make lots of runs in transition a lot, getting in behind defenses. And with all these great creators around him, I think it's going to be a move that should hopefully push his development forwards. And if it does, he's not going to be there for a very long time. I'll tell you that right now. There are a lot of clubs around Europe right now that would fucking kill for a guy like Openda if he is what his numbers say he is. And so just one more season, in my opinion, of him performing at that level, and we're gonna see a lot of interest. A lot of interest. Watch this space. And one more signing from Red Bull because they are just too damn smart, and I want to talk about damn near every signing they make all the time. We're going to be taking a look at Castello Luqueba. So it's sometimes tough with like these super young center backs to gauge where their talent is at, but with Luqueba, man, like, he really does show to be kind of wise beyond his years. His passing and even some dribbling numbers from center back is fucking astounding. And then on top of that, he's just got the physical gifts that you want from a defender. You know, he's got speed, strength, and he seems like a really, really, really solid player. And especially in a team like Red Bull, again, that are very tactically adept at kind of helping their players figure out what their role is and defining their jobs on the pitch. I think this is a great environment for him to develop in, and honestly, we could be looking at a future world-class player right now. Honestly, I think his ceiling is sky high. And now we got another player coming out of that Ren Talent Factory. Like, they just keep pushing these guys out. We got Lovro Majerme, Jeremy Lovro. This is a super, super technical player. I'm not going to make the lazy comparison to Luca, but, you know, the profiles are kind of similar. You know, it's exactly what you want from a center midfielder as far as the ball progression, high energy, very smart player. And I think that a move like this to a club like Wolfsburg, a coach like Niko Kovac, who's worked at Bayern Munich and other big clubs across Europe, this is the type of tactical system that he's going to, in my opinion, thrive under. And honestly, could be one of the yeah, I think he could be one of the best midfielders in the Bundesliga this season. Honestly, I think the system is tailor made to his skill set, and he's gonna shock a lot of people. I think. And now we got another one, baby. Yes, another one from the Wonder Kid series, man. If you guys didn't watch that shit, I tried to warn you. Next up, we're gonna be taking a look at Tom Kraus, and again, just a really interesting young player. Really solid defensive numbers, pretty decent in transition as well. Just a really well-rounded defensive eight slash defensive midfielder, and he only got the move to Mainz. You know, I thought with the talent he had and the price he was available at after being relegated with Schalke and sent back to Red Bull where there wasn't really a home for him, it felt like a bigger club could have come in and got this guy for a pretty solid price, but Mainz ended up snapping him up for I think it was like 5 million euros, which is really not that much. And so that does kind of worry me a bit. Like maybe clubs didn't feel like he stood out quite enough in that Schalke team to take the risk on him. But I also feel like the flip side of that could be that his profile and, overall recognition around Europe was dragged down by the fact that he was on such a poor Schalke team. So this is a big chance for him to show like I am genuinely Bundesliga quality and potentially further on than that. But again, it's all down to what he's able to produce this season. This is kind of make or break stuff for Tom Kraus as far as him pushing on to that top level. And now finally, let's head over to everyone's favorite La Liga. There's only a couple that I feel like I really need to cover that haven't already been discussed on this channel. One of those is honestly one of the most out of nowhere, probably the most out of nowhere signing this summer because I don't think anyone expected Real Madrid to be signing a goalkeeper. But unfortunately, after Courtois' injury, and get better Courtois, of course, I, they were forced into that situation and Kepa Arrizabalaga. Huh. We have come a long way from refusing to be substituted off by Maurizio Sarri, haven't we, buddy? I mean, Kepa the keeper. I've never really gotten the hype around this guy. It's it's a big chance for him. I'll say that. If he's not able to produce this season, we're gonna know because Real Madrid fans are gonna let the entire world know that they hate this guy and they want Courtois to get fit ASAP. So we'll see. I hope he doesn't crumble under the pressure, but I think this is a chance for him to hopefully show the world that he's matured from that kid refusing to get subbed off into a genuine professional footballer. So don't fuck this up, Kepa, because this is a big chance for you, buddy. And speaking of big chances, let's talk about a guy who earned that big chance and made it happen for himself, Fran Garcia. So as far as I understand it, he was a part of the Real Madrid Youth Academy setup and then left to go play at Real Valladolid after Ferland Mendy and all these other, of course, Marcelo back in the day. It just seemed like the left back spot wasn't going to really open up for him, and he made it work for himself. He went out, got some minutes, showed to be a really promising young player, and with Real Madrid last season really kind of struggling in that left back spot to figure out what they wanted to do. And obviously, that they would want to have Camavinga further forward on the pitch. It made sense for them to go ahead and find a left back, but with them penny pinching to try and pick up Mbappe at some point, that they can't break the bank. So this Fran Garcia signing really, it's perfect because the tactical profile of what he offers is what Real Madrid wanted out of a left back. Maybe not quite to the heights of what they would have wanted, but a very solid player that can go on and develop as only 23 years old, I believe. And then the price is super great, like it's negligible almost for Real Madrid. So a really solid piece of business all around, and I think that they did a good job of taking care of a problem position for them before it got too big of an issue. And that is it, guys. That was a beefy ass recording session. This edit is gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here because I already took enough time out of you guys' day. If you somehow made it to the end of this, God bless you, man. You're a saint. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll probably do one more episode of these just to cover some of the final things that are gonna happen in the last couple weeks of the transfer window. And yeah, I mean, from now on, expect to see the actual content about stuff that happens on the pitch. I know, right? It's been a while, but we're back to stuff happening on the actual pitch. So, yeah, more fun content soon. I'll see you guys later. Peace.